There's a very specific kind of collapse that The Division captures better than almost anything else in gaming. It's not explosive per se, it's not immediate, it's very quiet, slow, inevitable. Civilization doesn't fall in a single moment, it erodes, street by street, system by system, until all that's left is silence, broken glass, the sound of your own footsteps, echoing through a city that used to feel alive. Well, now, Division 3 is stepping into that silence, not loudly, not with a grand reveal or a cinematic trailer, but rather quietly confirmed in development and slowly becoming one of Ubisoft's most important projects that's moving forward right now. Because, make no mistake, this isn't just another sequel, this is a second chance. When the original Division launched back in 2016 and also the recent, they did something few games could pull off. It basically, the first time it created a world that felt real. Snow-covered New York wasn't just a backdrop, it was a character. Empty streets, abandoned apartments, flickering lights in the distance. It all told a story without saying a word. Then came The Division 2. Bigger, more refined, mechanically stronger. Washington, D.C. brought scale, variety, and systems that went deeper than before. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. The atmosphere, the heavy, suffocating tone that defined the first game started to sort of fade just a little. And players noticed. Now, with The Division 3, Ubisoft has an opportunity, not just to build on what worked, but to correct its course. Here's what we actually know. The Division 3 is officially in development at Massive Entertainment, the same studio behind the previous entries. Well, that alone, because this isn't being handled off, it's being built by a team that understands the DNA of the franchise, is something to chew on. But development force is still early, and that's where things get interesting, because early development means one thing, and that would be freedom. The kind of freedom to rethink systems, to rebuild mechanics from the ground up, and finally address the things players have been asking for over the years. And there's also been no shortage of feedback. I mean, let's start with the core of it all, the gameplay. At its heart, well, The Division has always lived in a strange space between tactical shooters and an RPG shooter. When it works, it's incredibly satisfying, coordinating with a squad, using abilities strategically, managing positioning in a firefight that feels both grounded and chaotic. But when it doesn't, it really turns into just numbers. Bullet sponges, gear checks, enemies that feel less like threats and more like damage calculators. Well, for The Division 3, that balance really has to evolve. Players aren't just looking for more guns or more loot, they want meaningful combat. Smarter AI, enemies that flank, adapt, react in ways that feel human. Encounters that aren't just difficult, but dynamic. Like, imagine clearing a building where enemies actually communicate, reposition, cut off exits, where every firefight tells a story instead of just testing your DPS. That's the next step. There is also the world itself, of course. If The Division has a true identity, it's not the shooting, it's the setting. The atmosphere, the feeling of walking through a space that used to be normal and now isn't. New York gave us winter, cold, isolating, almost haunting in its stillness. Washington, D.C. shifted to overgrowth, nature, reclaiming what was lost. So where does The Division 3 go? In fact, Ubisoft hasn't said yet. Not a word. That silence opens the door to something bigger. A new city is expected, but there's growing speculation that the scope could expand beyond a single location, multiple regions, a broader map, maybe even a world that evolves over time. And if that happens, it really changes everything, because suddenly this isn't just a setting, it's a living system now. Whether that impacts visibility, storms that alter missions, day and night cycles that actually change enemy behavior. A world, per se, that doesn't just sit waiting for you, but moves with you or without you. Maybe that's the kind of immersion The Division 3 could aim for. Over the past few years, Ubisoft hasn't exactly had a smooth run. However, reconstructing, shifting properties, focusing on bigger titles. It's clear the company is trying to recalibrate, and that puts Division 3 in a very specific position. This isn't just another game on a release schedule, this is a pillar. A project that just needs to succeed, not just creatively, but commercially. Something that can hold players long term, evolve over time, stand alongside Ubisoft's biggest franchises. And that kind of pressure can go two ways. It can force something generic, safe, over-designed, or it can really push a team to deliver something truly special. There's also been some shifts behind the scenes as well, which we're not really gonna get deep into. But according to Ubisoft, the roadmap for Division 3 is already locked in. The direction set, the foundation's there, which suggests something important. That the game isn't being figured out anymore, it's being built. And while all of this is happening, the Division's universe is not standing still. The Division is still receiving support. Division Resurgence is expanding the experience onto mobile. The franchise is active, growing, staying relevant, which makes Division 3 feel less like a comeback and more like a culmination. Everything leads to this, but here's where things get even more real. Ambition is easy to talk about. Execution, however, is everything. We've seen games promise evolving worlds, smarter AI, deeper systems. We've heard phrases like next-gen experience more times than we can count, and sometimes it delivers, other times it really doesn't. The Division 3 is officially in development and massive entertainment, the same studio behind the previous entries. Well, that alone, because this isn't being handled off, it's being built by a team that understands the DNA of the franchise is something to chew on. Players aren't just looking for more guns or more loot, they want meaningful combat, smarter AI, enemies that flank, adapt, react in ways that feel human. Encounters that aren't just difficult but dynamic. Like, imagine clearing a building where enemies actually communicate, reposition, cut off exits, where every firefight tells a story instead of just testing your DPS. But development force is still early, so the question isn't whether the Division 3 can be great, it's whether Ubisoft can actually bring all those pieces together into something cohesive. Because the Division at its best isn't about mechanics, it's about tension, the little quiet moment before a firefight, the sound of your gear shifting as you move through an empty street, a distant gunshot. That's what people remember, that's what needs to come back. That's the Division 3, not just bigger, not just better, but also sharper, darker, more deliberate. And if, of course, Ubisoft gets it right, this won't be just another sequel, it'll be the moment the Division finally becomes what it was always meant to be, a living, breathing collapse, where you're gonna be right in the middle of it.